Go.
Feel like I already know you just listening to your music, and it's just really been enjoyable. So
Thank
glad
you
we
so
got you
much.
here. Good.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, happy that we were able to make it work. And it means a lot. You also saying that because, that's really the goal of me making, a lot of the music I make, it's so personal, but especially this album was to give, the listener a peek into my world and my soul. And so means a lot to hear that.
Yeah, I love. We're just going to go ahead and roll right into it because your title of your album is Hanging On. You
Yeah.
worked with an amazing producer, one of our favorites, Chad
Yeah.
Malden. Had some great studio musicians on there. So let's talk about you getting process of getting your songs together and getting Chad on board, and tell me about the production and your studio time.
Yeah, so I mean it was so cool how that happened. Chad, he for those listening in that like don't really, I mean, I'm sure that they've heard of him just because of he's like you said, one of your favorites, but he reaches out to artists. So he and his son, they own that studio and run that. And so they reached out to me and I was like, okay, so basically I ended up having a family friend who believed in me and shout out to Greg McPike and Contessa Hope. They were the executive producers of this record and made it happen. So they, paved that way for me. But then so with those songs, there's some songs that were written years ago and there were some that were being finished like right before I got to the studio. And but the whole process was amazing. So it's a residential studio. So, it's out in Gladewater, which
Yes.
is like 6.5 hours away from me. And so, you go there and you stay there for the time that you have allotted. And so we were there for like 5 days. And it was just awesome. So, and he was one of the coolest producers to work with, both in just, I mean, he's a great dude. I mean, he's just a really cool cat and a lot of fun banter in there. But man, working with him and doing that, it was so fast, so quick, and like everything was just getting cranked out so quickly. And I had never really had that experience. It was always, oh, we're kind of still doing this and trying this, and let's do one vocal day where we do 7 songs or whatever. And we were doing one vocal a day, and keeping it fresh. And then, just having everything was just moving so quickly. And it was so cool because I've produced everything mostly in the past with some help from others, but usually I was the main producer of my past projects. And this time I was it was so cool because I didn't, and maybe that is part of what slowed things down in the past, as I get so attached to those things. But his style of producing is just so cool, and it's so true to Texas country. There's so much space in a lot of the songs that you hear, even in stuff like Wasted a Good One, which is really upbeat, fast paced, and
Yes.
super
I
honky tonk. Well,
uh-huh.
there's still so much space in those verses where it's just like, wow. And that space is so important. And so his style of producing is just so cool. I loved working with him and Jackson as well, his son.
Yes.
Played bass on
Yes.
that record, and it was so cool and so much fun to do that and track with him.
And yeah, and then you also, I noticed that Milo Deering had some credits on the album
Yeah,
also.
he
That's
did.
big.
Yeah, he played
Big.
pedal steel, dobro, and I believe fiddle as well. And I mean, for those that don't know Milo and his work, I
Mhm.
mean, he was for a long time was the touring pedal steel player for the Eagles, I believe.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
mean, that dude is just a legend. And so I actually never got to meet him. He ended up tracking after my time there, but it was, I mean, it's a pretty surreal feeling to have, that type of history touch my songs.
Yes. Well, great job on it. And I just want to go through some of the talk about some of the tracks and
Yeah.
the backstory on them. Title track, I love it. The train keeps rolling. Rain keeps pouring. Ain't gonna let it drag me down, with some of the lyrics that kind
Yeah.
of jumped out at me. I like the whole vibe of that song. It's really upbeat. So
Yeah.
tell me how you picked the title track. Was that one that you had wrote at last minute, or have you had for a while?
I had that one for a minute. I was actually, it's funny. So I was sitting in the sauna and I was just, just sweating it all out. And all of a sudden that just pops into my head. Train keep rolling, won't slow down. And it just started rolling and no pun intended, it just started happening.
All right.
And I'm in the sauna and my thing is I'll go sauna and then cold plunge. I'm a firm believer in that and the benefits it has for your body and for your mental and everything. But and yeah, my time was even close to being up, and I was like, gotta go. And I run out there in my towel, and I don't even take a shower. I just get in my car and just hit record on my phone, and I start singing that, and then I get home and start playing it, and I actually sent it to a few of my friends. I was like, okay, is this song someone else's song? And I just like didn't realize that it's someone else's song, and I started rewriting this because in my head I was like, I feel like I've heard this before. And not all songs are like that. Some of them are a work in progress over time, and that one is one that just, I mean, it wrote itself. And so it was, so yeah, I'd kind of been sitting on that. And then my buddy, Bob, who's in a band, Another Hour, another Austin group, and they're rock and roll. He and I have written a lot of music together. So I was getting to the chorus and I was like, man, I feel like I'm stuck in this same feel, right? And he's a very soulful guy, and that's a lot of the music that he plays is soul R&B. And so he hit that. He was like, all right, let me see your guitar real quick. And he plays this A, walk up to C, back down to G, and then to the D, which is times like these ain't gonna know. And it's this cool rhythm that I would not have thought to do. And so, he helped me with that. And then again, it just kept going on its own. And that was a pretty well, actually, the title picking the title track, was it was kind of some back and forth, and that didn't really happen till last minute because
Mhm.
I was trying to what song track would encompass the feel, right? Um, and it's not like this song is a super or the album is there's a lot of ups and downs in it, and so I liked the idea of Shine a Light, which is the last track or second to last track on the record.
Yes.
And I like the idea of it, but I was like, it just seems a little too happy and a little too positive of and not positive but a little just too go lucky about what this whole album sounds like. And so then I was like, okay, well, do you or It Ain't Fair? Well, those are also, a little bit more, I feel like kind of putting the sound in a box when it's not, right? And so Hanging On, just the message of the song, and also that it is upbeat, but it has a deep message to it, right?
Yes. Mhm.
And I was like, okay, that's makes it that sounds like it's a pretty cohesive name for the record. And yeah, yeah, it was really cool how all that happened, and yeah, it took a while, but yeah, Hanging On is the title of it, and I'm glad it is.
Thanks for sharing that because I think it was a good choice. It's a good one. Another one that you've already mentioned two that I had actually marked off the album to talk about, but I do want to move back to Shine a Light a little bit. The whole world's out there waiting, bro, and that song is got such a great message. It was so uplifting for me.
Oh, thank you. That's a song that I did not write, from a happy experience, and it's again one of those songs that has this upbeat, positive feel to it, and it really is a positive message as well. But that first verse is woke up feeling low, and I can't put a finger
Mhm.
on the hurting in my soul. Still, I got to carry on and can't keep waiting around. Got to get up and go. And so it says, so I called it my brother, and I actually that song is because I called it my buddy Bob, and he's, one of those people that I'll always call on and know he'll pick up. And he's always one of those people. He's like, dude, you got it. Just keep on pushing. You got a light to share. And I believe that's true for everybody. And I think that's a pretty universal message, because, everybody does get caught up in their own lives. And as you do, I mean, it's hard to see outside of that sometimes, and it's hard to see outside of certain sufferings in moments. And so to be able to, kind of put that into and spin that into the positive message that I know is really what it's all about. Was cool. And yeah, that song, I mean, was straight up just out of personal experience, waking up feeling like crap and feeling down and glum, and then calling my people and being uplifted. And so it's really a song about, community, raising you up, which I think is just so important for everybody.
It is so important, and we all need that so much. It's so true. And I loved the nostalgia. I guess it was so nostalgic for me to listen to Backroads and
Hmm.
the lyrics in there. Lost down an old farm to market road, less traveled on, the mason jars, the fireflies, homemade wine, abandoned mill. I mean, it was just like it was so picturesque. And it was like it took me back to the country where like where I grew up in the country.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome song.
Well, that, and so I love that this is all bringing it back to the similar point. But this was the third, and this was my buddy Bob had a hand in a few of these songs, and Backroads was the main one. So he had come back. He had lost a close family member, and so he went down to the valley where he's from, and came back, and I was like, yo, let's write. And I've got this chord progression. And he just starts putting these lyrics out and singing them. And I'm like, whoa, man. And he was like, this is just what I was feeling when I was going back home, and it just
Mm,
came out. And yeah, and so he's like, dude, he's like, this is a you song. This is your song to sing. But he wrote every single word in there, and I didn't touch a thing on that. And then I wrote all the chords for it. But it was just another really cool moment of, friendship, camaraderie, and community in this industry, to be able to
mhm.
share these things and create something so cool out of that.
Yeah, and we can't stop talking about the album without having to talk about the Hey Ma song.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I sometimes cry when I talk about
yeah,
the message of it before I'll even play it every now and then.
yeah, that's another good one that gets you.
Yeah, so that one, I'd like to talk about the writing on that one because so I played a solo gig the other day, and I was and I love solo shows because I just get to storytell.
Mhm,
About the songs, which sometimes it's hard to do full band, especially when there's a crowd of people that are like, "Yeah, I'm ready for the next thing," and that you got to be a little more tactful. Whereas I can, give a 2-minute story, and people would love to hear it when it's just me on a stool, right? And so that song, I wrote, for my mom, and also, so my girlfriend, my partner, she had lost her dad. At that time, it was about a year ago, to cancer, and it's been 2 years now, and I never got to meet him, and that was, and that's, very sad, right? And it's something that, I wish wasn't the case, but it is. But watching her personal experience through it all, I wrote this song for me and for my mom, but I also wrote this, drawing from her experience and for her dad. And I didn't necessarily realize how much her story impacted that song.
yeah,
Talking and specifically the last line, they're the last verse in that song. Hey, mom, stopping by to sit beside you for a while. These days I'm mourning, losing, living, wishing for more time. Coming home, it ain't the feeling that it was before. I'm sitting here on your front porch and I can't get back the time, but I can't let it go. Clarissa is from Fort Worth. Every time we go to Fort Worth, we go and drive by her family home. And it's a very emotional experience every single time. And when I was talking about it at the solo gig, it just I had that huge realization. I was like, oh, that is where that came from, because those are every time it's a very intense moment, and it's hard, but it's also that healing that goes on with it. But really just the longing for more time, and going back to that childhood home and sitting there and just being like, damn, it takes you back. And so and yeah, it's cool. This album, in general, has drawn, as I'm sitting here talking about this, has drawn from so many more experiences, and not just my own, right, than past projects and everything. And it's just been really
mhm.
cool to see all of this, come into one creation.
Have you ever wondered how artists like Treaty Oak Revival, Red Clay Strays, and Aaron Watson maintain the high quality and high demand for their merchandise? CH Lone Star Promo is the answer. Created in Texas to serve Texas artists, and they're currently offering 15% off on all merch orders from musicians. Visit chlonestarpromo.com to get started and tell them Texas Toast sent you.
I was reading the other day that it takes at least $1 million to break an artist. That's a ton of change, and it can feel overwhelming. But with social media leveling the playing field, you just need an effective strategy to release your music. Check out Release Rocket to ensure your single does not die after release day. You've already put time, effort, and tons of money into writing and recording your album. Let the guys at Release Rocket keep your new release alive.
Super special. I
Yeah,
love what you're sharing and how all the songs intertwine and how they came together.
yeah.
I'm so proud for you
Thank
and
you.
you definitely got some talent. And
Thank you.
I think it's amazing too that Chad reached out to you. Did you know? I mean, I know we're kind of going back, but I want to
Yeah.
backtrack because that's really that's just that's a big deal.
Oh, I mean, it just, I mean, lit my soul on fire getting that. And, of course, with this day and age of Instagram messages and emails, I'm sitting there like, okay, before I get excited, because I always get excited, and then I look it up, I'm like, damn it, it's a scam again. And
Yeah,
so,
right. This is for
and so I
real.
looked him up, and I'm like, and me and Clarissa are looking it up. I'm like, yo, this guy is very, very legit. And he's showing me his numbers and everything like that, and all the people he's worked with. I'm like, okay, this
Mhm.
guy's got credit and all that stuff. And yeah, just completely very humbled, very honored to be reached out to from someone like that. I mean, his everything that he does is just incredible. He's an incredible record producer.
Yes, and he and his wife are such good people. I know
April is
them really
awesome.
good personally.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love them. I love being around them every chance that I get when we do some of our Texas country events, and they
Yeah.
are something special. All right, so I'm backtrack again and
Yeah.
talk about your band because you mentioned like doing the acoustic show, and then sometimes you do
Mhm.
some full band shows.
Yeah.
And the name of your band, Country Worms.
So yeah, so that was what it was. That is what it was my name plus Country Worms for the not this record, but the previous one.
Right,
Uh,
I saw that.
and that you listen to that record, it's psychedelic honky tonk music. And my band, there's some members that are still with me. And then there's I have a different rhythm section now. And I'm so grateful for the rhythm section that I had during that not yeah, the Worm Country album, because they're rockers and they provided that psychedelic rock sound, which was heavy and super cool, and that full big band sound. I mean, there was on any song at least 10 players on every song on that record, and it was really cool. And also now this record, getting back to kind of my own truths and who I really want to be as a songwriter, and everything moving forward is getting back in touch with my emotional vulnerable side, right? And so I've got a different rhythm section now. But like, so Jackson Malden, he played bass on that record, but he
Mhm.
obviously he plays with Jacob Stelly, and he does his own thing. And but no, most notably, I would like to say, because you can hear this dude every time, Austin Roach, my guitar player. That guy is an absolute machine, and man, I got to give so much credit to that guy for just elevating the sound, and having so much texture and versatility with his playing. And it's so backtracking again is so when I'll play live, it'll still be Connor Stevens and the Country Worms, and that's how the audience can know that it's me and the band. And then solo shows, I'll do Connor Stevens, and I've got some songs in the bank, so I'm going to be releasing some new stuff coming up. But that was recorded with that last band, so those will be releasing later in the year and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, as far as moving forward, it's probably going to be mostly this at least, well, it's always changing. I could say today that it's going to be Connor Stevens records, and then tomorrow it could be Connor Stevens and Country Worms. And I do like that I have you know such options to branch out in many different styles and playing and stuff like that.
Absolutely, of course. So what has your journey in music been like? Did you start when you were young? Because you're
Yeah.
based in Austin now. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Austin, so I was
Okay,
born in
so perfect.
Dallas. Yeah, so I was born in Dallas. My family moved here when I was 7, so I went to elementary, middle school, and a couple high schools here. So, but yeah, I grew up here in Austin, and my journey with music, it started really, really early. So, there's a thing called the School of Rock,
Mhm.
and it was something hosted by Straight Music, and they would do this. It's a summer camp for young musicians to come and learn stuff, and then they would have a end of the summer show at Antone's. And so I picked up, so I played bass, and I still see these. We have this DVD of me at Antone's, and I'm wearing an Under Armour sleeveless shirt and cargo pants with the zips at the knees. And I jumped and like did the splits. I mean, I've just always been a firecracker since day one. And then I put that down because I was like, man, I don't really know if I like the bass. And in my mind at that time, I was a young guy, I'm like nobody really like pays attention to the bass player. And now that I'm older, I'm like, everybody pays
Hello,
attention to the bass
every
player.
yes, absolutely, yes.
And not
Me
just that
included, even
they're
when I was young, yes.
right. Yeah. And then I started really listening to songs. I'm like, oh, yeah, I was playing really easy stuff because I was, a young kid, but you really listen to what great bass players do. And I mean, it's incredible. And so I put that down, and then I picked up cello in middle school because you had to choose either choir, band, or orchestra. So I did
Mhm.
orchestra, and then I stopped that because I just didn't, I wasn't the best cellist. And, in the community I grew up in, there's people that are like, oh, we're going to be in like a symphony. And that's what our plan is from like age 7. And that this is my life plan. I was like, okay, that's not my life plan. I don't think that I really have much of a future here. And then I just kind of started picking up guitar, and I've always sang. And then I went into choir my sophomore year of high school. And that was super great because I took classical lessons and got classically trained through the school there, and it was amazing and really set me up vocally for success. To understand range and understand how to breathe and how not to blow my voice out. Um, and then at age like 15, I started, really trying to give it a shot. And I was like, oh my God, how do you strum guitar and sing at the same time? I'm never gonna get that down. And then I got it down, of course, you get it down, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start writing songs. And I probably wrote 200 terribly cheesy, awful songs before I got one that I was like, oh, okay, this isn't that bad. And I didn't go to college. My parents were like, hey, are you gonna waste the money if you go to college? And I was like, 100%. I just want to do music. And so a lot of credit to them for the support they gave me early on, and
Mhm.
still to this day. Used my savings to go make an EP, and that's what that first EP was. And then since then, it just kept going and going, and me, slightly, changing my sound, and then just falling into and understanding who I am as an artist, right?
Right, right. It's wonderful to hear your story about how the good instruction that you were under, and the fact that you had such a good, I guess, educational support in the music in
Yeah.
school. I
Yeah.
hope that that's still the case these days. That's amazing.
Yeah, I really would hope so. And so I went to Westlake in Austin, and so they're a very competitive, fine arts type school and stuff like that. So that's why, those teachers are so well trained. Beth Beauchamp was my vocal coach. She's awesome. So if you're out there listening, Beth, you rock. But yeah, and then as far as guitar goes, though, I taught myself off YouTube. That is how I learned how to play guitar, was just YouTube lessons and learning how to
Mhm.
play other people's songs.
Nice, nice. Well, you had that background, you had that little cushion. So,
Yeah.
talking about let's talk about some of your when did you play like your first like live gig, like when you really got in front of an audience, like as far as spotlighting your music?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So my first performance, like not with the school, because I'd done like a couple solo things. Actually, I
Mhm.
think this was after. So my first, yeah, because I definitely didn't perform in front of 1,000 people for the first time. That was how big the PAC was, like 1,200 people. And I did that when I was like 16, and I was scared to
Oh my
death.
gosh. Oh
Because
my
that was
gosh.
only like my third show in front of anybody. But my first one was, man, I couldn't even drive. So my dad drove me up to back then a sketchy part of town at this open mic at a coffee shop. And I was like, okay, you can go now. And he's like, I'm not
Oh,
leaving you.
really?
Yeah, I
Ah,
was like, I'm not gonna have my dad here while I sing. No way my dad's gonna do that. No way in hell. And so he's like, I'm just gonna sit in the back. I was like, oh, fine. And I played Bright Lights by Gary Clark Jr. And it was so funny because then the barista there, he's like, hey man, I grew up in Austin with Gary Clark, and we used to hang out in whoever's dad's garage, and I would play harmonica with him at Austin High. And can I come sit in with you because we used to do this joint? And I was like, oh my God. And so that was, yeah, that was my first time ever playing. I was so scared. Yeah, and then yeah, my third time was in front of like 1,200 people, and videotaped and everything at high school. And so that was also very intense and kind of shook a lot of the nervousness from live playing out for me at an early age, you know.
so how are your shows now? I'm sure you're just like raring to go now.
Yeah, so you know, I actually am just coming off of like a 2 month, 2.5 month break from playing because that's really all I did for like 4 years. Was just 4 shows a week and just
Oh, wow.
music, 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 and go, go, go. And I was like, man, I need to take a step back, take a break for just for everything because I'm feeling, burnout. And I never really thought I was gonna feel that. I was like, no, I'm go, go, go. I love this. I'm never gonna get burned out from it. And then one day I was like, oh, I understand what people talk about now. I am
Uh-huh.
extremely tired all the time. So now I'm coming back. So in October, we're doing a show for Preservation Austin, which all proceeds go to support local small businesses that are OG Austin and to keep them alive. But
Sweet.
yeah, so I'm just now getting back in the swing of things. I've done all my own booking and marketing and PR and releasing and well, Smith Music obviously released they've been distributing this record, but previous to everything, it's just I've been doing it all on my own, which it makes sense. It's my name as the band. And so I have friends in other bands where their band is a name, right? And they've all got those responsibilities split up. But it's my name on the group, and I'm like, okay, I have to make this cake. And now I know I could get a booking agent and stuff. And so that's kind of really what my next steps are, is to help get some support for me in those business sides of things so that I can focus on the writing and the playing and everything else. But yeah, I've got some shows coming up over at Saxon Pub in Austin, which
Nice.
is I grew up always dreaming of playing there, and I was like, it was really just a pipe dream for me, for a long time, and then I started playing there, and it's just been so amazing. I mean, the history in that room, and the sound is incredible. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing spot. So we're doing one the day after Thanksgiving, and then I think like a couple days before, right after Christmas. And then so I'm just looking for, booking agents, stuff like that, and to start helping delegate responsibilities.
Right, right. Well, that sounds like a good plan, and,
Yeah.
I love the fact that you recognize that you needed to take some time off because sometimes we just keep moving forward, plunging forward, and I think, yeah, it's like I can so relate to that. So when you did take your downtime, or if you do have downtime, like what are your personal interests or hobbies or different things that kind of a personal side for you?
Yeah. I love fishing.
I was like,
Um,
I'm going fishing right after this. That's why
I
the
love it.
fishing shirt and the
Yeah, nice, nice. Yeah, I love fishing. It's great. It's so therapeutic. I realize I ain't got to catch anything. I'm just out there casting the line. It's just, and all of that is it's just so therapeutic. So that, going swimming. I live, being in Central Texas, there's a lot of rivers and a lot of great nature. And then, but so in my downtime, I also needed money. So I have a job, and so I work over at Allen's Boots in Austin, Texas, which is super cool. Also very, very Austin to be a musician and
Yeah.
working at the boot store.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in my downtime, I'm not one who does well with just a whole lot of downtime. So it's like, oh, I'll take a break, but keep myself super occupied. I did go to South Padre with my mom and dad and with my girlfriend Clarissa, and that was super cool to just go and get a really big break from everything there. And also went fishing, caught like, I think like
What'd
30
you
pounds of fish. So I got a lot of stuff in the freezer right now.
Cool. So what do you use, fresh bait or artificial? What'd you use?
So in the Gulf, so we had a guide, and we were
Oh,
we were
good.
doing what is it, croakers? Yeah,
Oh,
I know those are gnarly, man. I know it feels bad.
no, it's cheating. But anyway, that's
It
okay. You were
is,
on a
yeah.
charter.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But then over in rivers and stuff, I'll just, like rooster tails. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
that's really
See,
all I use it.
if you ever get on saltwater again, grab you some good plastic, some down south lures, and then get you some top waters. Get you some skitter walks.
Okay.
I'm a top water, and they are hitting the top water right now, and the
Okay.
birds
What's
are
what's
fixing to start
biting?
working. That's why we're out on the water. But I tell you what, the first time you ever get a huge trout on a top water blow up, oh, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's just life. And I love, the one thing I like about fishing is like, we all talk about this, and it's like once that fish is on and you've set the hook, it's between you and that fish. There's nothing anybody else can do except net it and not mess it up.
Yeah.
But that's the thing I love about fishing. It's like once I'm hooked up, that's it. This is nobody can. That's it. You
Yeah,
you
it's
you better make
you or
sure
nature.
your drag is set right. Tight lines, don't give it no slack and just bring it in. Don't horse
Hmm.
it though.
I know. And I love the fight, the push and pull of it all. Yeah, it
Oh my
does.
gosh.
It's very animalistic, and I feel like what's the word I'm looking for? I was trying to figure this out the other day when I was talking to somebody, but it's just very raw.
Yes. Yes.
Just you and nature. It's not any, yeah, it's no mechanics or nothing in there.
And it can be, and like with fishing, it can be so spontaneous. It could be like nothing, nothing, nothing. You've been on a drift for a while, you've worked so many spots, and then all of a sudden it is just total chaos. Like everyone's hooking up and you're running around. I've got a red fish running somebody around the boat. Yeah, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
okay, I gotta stop. Kyle knows if I get on fishing, especially this, fall. Okay, I'll stop. Anyway, well, we're so excited for you and this album, and we'll be following along as to what's to come. And so, kind of tell everyone where they can find you, like on your social media and those
Yeah.
different various, especially to go stream the album.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it's just on Instagram, just Connor Stevens Music. Yeah, no, my name is spelled Connor with an E and then Stevens with a PH. I know that y'all got it right, but still, just to reiterate for those out there, because
Mhm.
there's actually a couple Connor Stevens out there. So and that's my Instagram, and then on Spotify and Apple Music and all those streaming platforms. Just Connor Stevens, and then by searching that up, then you'll also find my work with the Country Worms Project as well, and all that is under there. And yeah, I'm working on getting some videos and stuff going for YouTube, but that's
Cool.
still in the works. So but yeah, for right now, it's the Instagram, and then the just streaming my name on things, and yeah.
I'm so excited for you. And I'm gonna tell you, everyone, go and find Connor Stevens with the O and PH. And
With it,
but
E and PH.
immediately, but I'm just gonna say immediately, like the first track is Backroads, and immediately when you click on it and you hear his voice, you're just gonna be like, okay, it's time to stop everything, put everything down, and just listen. It's just that good. So glad you're on the podcast. So glad we got to know you, and I've enjoyed the visit thoroughly. So thank you so much, Connor.
Thank you, Ellen. I appreciate you.